So we've talked about the problem, but I think yesterday you released a video. Well, a couple days ago, whenever this gets on the thing, you released a video the other day about kind of like trying to find the silver lining, and that really resonated with me because, that's part of the point of this road trip and this movie that I'm making, the film that I'm making, is that, in my opinion, Burning Man does not own exclusive rights to participatory experience, to creating the kind of environment and situation where you can have the experience and the connections and the transformative moments that happen out at Burning Man. There's a ton of things going on all over the country right now that can offer those same things. You've talked about Flipside, so there's all the regional events, Flipside, Transform Us, Interfuse, New Mexico starting a regional. There's regionals in Atlanta and North Carolina and Boston, Firefly. I mean, they're everywhere. And that's just things modeled on Burning Man.
Right. And then there's things that are inspired by Burning Man, like there's Fuente in Mexico, and then there's LIB, and there's the thought that there is just a single place where you can have this experience is absolutely untrue anymore. The magnitude of Burning Man, the scope of Burning Man is still the granddaddy, by far the best way to have your mind blown.
Right.
And then once it's blown, you have the opportunity of putting it back together in a way where participation and this style of values has a better place.
Right.
But, one thing that I talk about sometimes in Hug Nation, and a lot of people that tune in, they're never going to want to go out into the desert and dress crazy. But they are still seeking some type of experience or study or practice that will allow them to settle into this type of living.
Right.
And I think that any type of festival, if it adheres to certain principles, can give you that experience. Any type of gathering, any type of community,
Right.
like there's a whole string of like yoga festivals that don't resonate with me, but I'm pretty sure that you can have the exact same experience and the exact same growth where you start to recognize that the messaging that you've been giving is nowhere near as powerful as the experiences of connecting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's that. I have a bunch of friends who go to Wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been. I've kind of thought about going, but then when I think about it, it's like, yeah, that's not really who I am. But for these friends of mine that go, they have these amazing experiences out there at those kinds of festivals. I know for me personally, my first introduction to burner culture was through Flipside. So I by the time I got to Burning Man, I had already been a volunteer lead for Flipside. I'd been a couple of years, knew everybody. I showed up to Burning Man the first time with a village with 250 plus people that I organized. So it's not always that you have to go to Burning Man to get that kind of transformation, that transformative experience. I think there's even other venues. I mean, your First Saturday is a place where people can have that kind of like experience of connection and community by doing something and participating. And then there's maker fairs.
Mm-hmm.
There's Houston Art Car Parade, and there's art car parades and art car things all over the country. There's even some of the electronic dance music scene that's not the commercial version. That's more of the community based. That where people have the participatory experience, that they're creating the thing that they're doing.
I had a guy point out several years ago, as we we're just sitting in having an amazing Burning Man experience, and he was like, all I know is that the equation works, that when you put everybody on the stage, and have there not be an audience anymore, that there's just a stage, it's magic. And I think that's in some ways this place we're at in Burning Man is really highlighting that, because at a certain size it becomes very difficult to maintain that absolute that everybody's a participant, everybody is on the stage. It's just there's something that happened at Lightning in a Bottle last year, which is great festival, great intentions. They do everything right, but it also there's a lot of people that they're new to this community or new to this stuff, and so just because it says "Leave no trace" on all the signs, there are a lot of people that were not getting that, and I was like, and it reminded me that when Burning Man grows at a certain pace, or any community that grows at a certain pace, you have this kind of hand-to-hand, introduction, where if you drop something on the ground, the person that brought you in be like, oh, hey, let me just, no, we're here to have a good time, but we're also here to do it according to certain principles, so then, oh, right. And so social media and the fact that these things are awesome creates this really fast growth, and so you have people go, oh wow, I love those cool furry hats, and I love that DJ, so I'm gonna be there. Right. And it can be years before you figure out, oh, you know what, it's more than just getting fucked up and having a good time.
Right.
And so in some ways, like as terrible as the situation is with Burning Man right now, it's also, I think, it's having us to face the question of how big can something be and still keep that participatory experience. I mean, I kind of felt like, this will be my 15th year going to Burning Man, and there was a time when I was a greeter years ago, and I felt like you could individually address everybody that was coming in that said, oh, I'm just here to check it out, and you'd be like, oh, it's your first time? We don't check things out here. You are part of it. I don't work here. We're equals right now. So welcome to helping make this what it is.
Right.
And that education or introduction or something is it doesn't scale in the same way that we have the tools to grow things much quicker than our humanness can follow.
Yeah. One of the things I used to say back at Flipside. When I was first getting involved with, I'd walk up to people and be like, thank you for throwing this great party. Yeah. I just wanted to thank you for helping me make this happen. And they'd be like, what? Especially like new people. And they'd be like, huh? I was like, well, you're here, you're making this happen, and I just wanted to thank you. And they're like, oh, I am making this happen. And then they would go, thank you. And right. And there was that kind of knowledge transfer that happened. And unfortunately, Burning Man has gotten so big, and there's so many tourists and what I'm calling bucket listers, because Burning Man started showing up on the bucket list.
Right.
That they're not there for that experience. They're there to check it out, and it's hard to do that. And I don't have a problem with tourists or bucket listers, because sometimes they come along and they're like, whoa, this is great, right. And they get it. Whatever it is.
Well, and I have to remind myself that my first year, I had the mentality of checking it out. I showed up on a Thursday my first year. I was invited to a theme camp, and I took far more than I gave to the experience. I showed up, I had my mind blown, had a great time, but I needed that experience to crack open my head so that then I could become a participant.
Right.
In later years. And I really believe that if you show up for the full week, I don't care if you are, the fresh guy or the douche or the Republican or whatever people want to, label in that category of like, why are they ruining it? You know what? If you are ruining the planet, if you spend a week at Burning Man, you're going to be helping in some way. It's going to crack you open a little bit.
Right. I absolutely think that those, the people who are coming to just check it out are a valuable part of the experience for everybody involved, because for old timers it tests you, right? And for the people who are checking it out, they're being exposed to a new way of thinking and a new way of living, and so I think it's a valuable thing. I don't think that there's no part of me that says those people don't belong.
it's part of the ecosystem. It's
right.
Kind of like, in a forest, you've got one plant goes up, gets the sunlight, and then this one gets the rest of the sunlight, and then some of it has to die and has to have the decay and has to feed that. And you have to have this cycle. Now, I think that the scary part about right now is the fear that the balance is off.
Right.
And that what once was the mighty trees that were supporting the canopy and all this stuff, it's like, whoa, they don't have the nutrients they need to keep living, and we've got this massive amount of seedlings. Does that metaphor work a little bit?
Yeah, totally, it does.